Hello everybody and welcome to Steve Plays City Skylines. I hope you're all well. And this is episode 8 of my Swensdale build. And this is going to be a kind of a disaster movie, I guess. This is a what went wrong when I tried to put in some high density commercial and residential in this new tile that I bought. I'm going to go through what my intention was, what my vision was, what I hoped I'd achieve, what I actually got, and excuse me, and why it just doesn't work. And I think at the end of this, it's not something I normally do. I try to sort things out, but I think I'm gonna have to just roll back and just pretend this never happened. It was all a dream, Bobby in the shower sort of thing, and just start again. If you understand what I meant just then, by the way, yeah, you're old. Anyway. Hopefully you'll find some use in this, even if it's just this is what not to do. If you like it, maybe consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, and you'll get told when I put new videos up. I normally do at least one a week. This one has been delayed a touch because I spat my dummy out, as we say over here. I had a massive strop when this didn't work. I was going to be honest, I was about to sort of rage quit the entire map and just start again on something else. I downloaded a different map and all the rest. But then I thought, no. It's a nice map and I need to continue, but let's just pretend this never happened. So before it all disappears forever, let me show you what I'd planned to do, and let me show you what actually happened. So in this area here, you can see how it's all been gridded out, and then there's some other grid that's kind of overlaying it. And there's something going on in the middle of each tile, each block, should I say. So let's get in here a bit, and I'll show you what the vision was. So this looks a bit odd because it doesn't have buildings around it, but my concept, if you can be so grand as to call it that, was kind of a magic garden, hidden garden sort of thing, secret garden. Yeah, that's it. And the idea was, and if I show you, the idea was that there's something going on in the middle of all this. So from the outside, from the street, it's just all big buildings. But then if you look, you've got pedestrian access going in, and you've got this high level thing, which I'll come back to. And then if you kind of like look at what's going on inside, each of these blocks has got its own little secret garden. And each one, my plan was that each one would be themed slightly differently. So this one is this is the rockery. This one, is this the orchard maybe? This one is some other decorative tree, which I don't know what it is, sorry. This one is kind of like the sort of natural, like slice of a forest sort of thing. All just hopefully sort of natural plantings. You get the idea. Each one would be different. And then this is what should I call it? An elevated walkway and cycle highway. And it's actually getting a fair amount of use. This has worked well. But I'm not sure I actually, I'm not sure I actually like it. It just reinforces the grid. In fact, makes it worse because it's offset. It's a grid on a grid. And it took so much time to do all this, and now it's just going to go. But let me just continue. Why it didn't work in the end? It wasn't the design. That's just by the by. The problem is how the buildings work with the layout. So let me show you this. This is the theme I'm using on this map is the European one. So these buildings might look a bit different from the stuff that maybe you've got in your sort of standard game where you're using like the international theme, which is kind of, I always think American theme. I know it isn't, but that's the way it kind of feels to me. These buildings, most of them, are designed to be butted together, though you really probably should use ones that doesn't look too bad. I was going to say there's probably use ones that are like in a set, so use similar assets. You'll see that they're blindsided, so they're designed to go up against another building. And in theory, it kind of works well with the garden. It kind of hides it well. Well, in general. I mean, this one with the car parking around lets you see into the secret garden, if you like. But in general, they block it out. The problem is that a lot of these assets have car parking to the rear, which is a good idea. And some of them, like this one, has like a little archway and a roadway that goes through the building and then exits at the back, so the car parking can be accessed. That's great. But then when you look at some of the other assets, let's see if I can find... Oh, that's the same one. This one doesn't have car parking. Let me find... What's this one? Yeah, so that one just doesn't. This one... This one does. But there's no access. So the thing with this is, I wonder actually whether this is supposed to be in between two other buildings, and those two other buildings provide... You see, this is one asset, but there's like a hedge down the middle, and I'm wondering whether the idea is that this car parking becomes part of the next building's car park. So maybe that would work actually. But the thing with this is, what I've kind of realised, I'd have to really sort of curate almost the buildings that go down. I can't rely on the game putting the right asset down. I've got to take a very active role in selecting the right building for the right place. I'd have to see. Maybe I'd have to let this go and see whether I could make this work. You never know. This might actually be a goer. I don't know. But when I first put this down, I saw all these interior car parks and thought, no, this isn't going to work. This is designed as kind of like supposed to be like a U shape with an access road down the back. So that would have to go. So what I did then is I went into the zoning area, and I had a look at the residential specializations, and I decided, okay, let's make it a self-sufficient area, and that will bring in the assets from the Green Cities DLC, and these are they. Now, just to say, these are the big ones. These are the 4x4 buildings. The way I zoned it, I wanted the big buildings. So what I did was I instead of like flood filling, I sort of did that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, miss 4, and so they would come in as big buildings. Then when they had come in, I then zoned that. I was after big stuff, and I wanted that because it, like I said, I wanted to hide that sort of garden area in the middle. But you know, these assets, well, these are supposed to be like modern and clean and high tech. I've got a problem with these. This, to be honest, it looks like a council estate high rise. Not that I've got anything against council estates, guys, just so you know, but I kind of thought it would look a bit, I don't know, clean and nicer. Maybe because it's level 1, maybe as it grows up, it gets nicer. But I think it's butt ugly at the moment. And then the other problem I've got is there's so much wooden cladding, and I've just got a thing about wooden cladding because I see it so much at the moment where I live. It seems that every development, it's like, oh yeah, stick some wooden cladding on it. It was like a very 2000 thing in this country anyway. Do you not find when you're driving around and you're looking at housing, you can almost date it? There's a style which is very much of its time, and that wooden cladding was kind of Manchester Commonwealth Games. And the trouble is, they didn't just once they started with that, it seems every developer thought, that looks nice. And then they all did it, and now everywhere from that period just seems to be wood cladding. Anyway, sorry, going on, I'm ranting on here. What I really didn't like about this was just how little space is left around the buildings. You're obviously supposed to sort of almost like put these on a little pedestal on their own with plenty of space around, because that's awful, isn't it? For that, they're just looking straight into their windows. And look, I know that it's a game, and I know that it doesn't, as far as games mechanics are concerned, it just doesn't matter. They'll still move in as long as you're providing services and what have you. But I couldn't. That just looks terrible. And obviously, you seeing this all the way through, sort of thing. Oh my goodness, I haven't even seen that. Look at that. Yeah, they're two separate buildings. You could kind of open your window on this one and reach out and shake hands with the person opposite. Gosh, what have I done? Okay, it's got to go, obviously. So that's why. That's why it's got to go. This elevated walkway thing was working really well. I guess what I've taken from this is that walkability and cyclability, if you put it in there, if you make it work, if you make it go somewhere, people will use it, and it surely takes a lot of traffic off the roads. But going back to the concept, what was supposed to happen here is that you have a bus route that does a loop, and at each end of the loop there's a tram stop. So the idea is the buses bring people out of the high density area. They pick up the tram then takes them, it goes around, but it's bringing people down to here. Now I put the tram stop in front of this building, which is the department store, and it doesn't need to be there. It really should be in here, I think. I kind of thought this was the focus, this is where people would want to go, but in reality it's a tourist attraction rather than a day-to-day destination, and this is the area that's pulling people in. But anyway, I could change that. But yeah, that was the idea. That was what was in my head for this. The combination of the secret garden, which I liked, the idea of using buses to bring people to the periphery, and then a circular tram route to bring people out to where they wanted to go. And then what I did was I extended the tram line. I brought it around here. I avoided this roundabout. I did that because I just knew that this would just get busier and busier. So I wanted to avoid it, and so I curved it around here and brought it down here, and I'll discuss that building in a minute. I wasn't too happy with this, but seeing as I'd decided I was just getting rid of it, I didn't actually bother to change it. But what I would have done, I'd have smoothed it out a bit, so I'd put a bit more of a curve on it, something a bit more like too much. Oops. Oh, there's a tram accident coming on. I think actually if I start the game again it'll just go hop, but excuse me. I think something a bit more like that, a bit more curving it out. Of course that's now caused a problem there. A little bit smoother. I to be honest, I'd play around with that for ages, but make it a bit more of a smooth curve. And then the idea is the tram came down here, tram stop there. This is a bus station. I basically consolidated my routes rather than having, say, a route coming up here and stopping in here and then people changing to another route that goes out here. Most of the routes now come into this bus station. I've put pedestrian and bike actually access around to the back and to the tram stop. And when I first put this in, nothing seemed to be happening, but actually, you know, there's a few people. It's getting some traffic. Okay, so that was kind of the plan. And the thing is, and I guess what I'm really kicking myself about is I knew, I mean, the fact I'd done this, I knew that this is a traffic problem potentially, and I didn't want to put any more traffic in by running trams in the road. And then I started the game off because I wanted to see how it went, and I'd spent a fair chunk of money on putting in a hospital and a police HQ and schools, and I'd gone from a serious surplus down to a few thousand. And then pretty much as soon as I started the game, very, very quickly, suddenly I was making a handsome weekly profit. I think it's weekly. Yes, weekly. Like 13, 14, 15, something like 1,000. And then very quickly I got into a loss, and that's like the first time in ever. And it kind of came back, but not as, it wasn't making me as much. And then it went into negative again, but that time more. And basically it was flip-flopping between profit and loss, but every time it went into profit, it was less profit. And every time I went into loss, it was losing me more. So I had a look at the economy tabs and looked at where I was making a loss, and it was my industry. My industry was losing me a ton of money. So I went over and had a look at the farming, and I had a look at the forestry, and I know they can be a bit cyclical, but at the time when this was showing a loss, they were actually making money, so I didn't understand it. So then I'm looking at this industry, and well, we know that I've put this print factory in, and that's not operating at the moment, but the rest of it all seemed to be operating and was making money. So something had suddenly started really hitting my industry. And then when I started looking a bit more, and when I'm in this industry area, what I noticed is that the traffic was backed up. This road wasn't there at the time. The traffic was backed up from this roundabout all the way into my industrial area, right the way back to here. And what it was, I'd started up this high density commercial, and all this industry was suddenly trying to supply it, and everyone was queuing up. This was a two-lane roundabout at the time, and they were all queuing up in this lane here to get into what was then the inside lane of the roundabout, to come around here and get up there. And I say I was kicking myself because I knew that this was going to be where the traffic problems would start, and I just took my eye off it while I was doing this, and it managed just totally wreck my my budget basically. So I put this in as it doesn't look pretty, and it, like I said, this is just this then became an experiment rather than a serious development, if you like. I just wanted to see, does this fix it? And yes, it has. I mean, yes, I've expanded that roundabout to 3 lanes, but it's not that's sorted it out. It's this that's acting as a bypass, effectively shooting the traffic straight down into this commercial area, and that's what sorted out the traffic snarl up in my industry. So that's one for me to bear in mind when I do this again. Get a connection over here. I've downloaded an asset now that will allow me to tunnel a 2-lane road and still render it. So I'll probably use that. And I think probably what I'll do is bring this road out and then turn and go under, and then bring it back up here. So avoid this this orbital, if indeed I put an orbital in. Bring it up kind of here to just shoot the traffic straight into the commercial zone. So, was there anything else that I need to... I don't think I need to. This is basically... That's everything that went wrong. And the kind of lessons that I learned there. I think it's... Before you start to do developments like this, test it. Because this took a lot of time trying to get this right. And it's just all getting scrapped because I can't make it work properly. I can't make it work the way I wanted it to be. So let's just give up and try something else. So I'll do that. So test first. And also when you put in high density, I think it's almost like get your transport sorted out before you start, or at least before you take it off pause, because so quickly it went from flowing freely to backed up miles, and it just totally hammered my my budget. The other thing I need to take away from this is, because I've kind of just worked under the assumption that my public transport was doing okay, maybe losing a little bit, but that's fine because it's providing a service, keeping vehicles off the road. And I mean the tram. To be fair to the tram, it's running a massive loop just to service a relatively small amount of potential traffic. So I'm not worried too much about this. But my bus lines, well, I need to have a good look at my transport and see if I can, just look at the routes and maybe take the odd bus out just to reduce my costs and make them a bit more efficient. So okay, there we go. That was a nice idea, but it just hasn't worked out. So I am now going to roll back. It never happened. It's in the past. And I'll just start again and see if I can do a better job. So in my next video, I will be starting again, trying to get this right, and hopefully I'll see you then. But until then, Steve signing off. Bye now.